Welcome, everybody, to a special edition of the Mindplex podcast. We are here in Singapore covering the Super AI conference. And today we have the pleasure of speaking with Alex Goh, founder of EMC Protocol, which is an AI Web3 high-performance decentralized AI computing power application network that brings GPU computing power into Web3 through smart contracts and by, and I quote, building a distributed global AI decentralized physical infrastructure, DePIN, ecosystem. She'll tell us all about that. Alex believes that distributing AI workloads across diverse computing resources and leveraging global idle GPUs is the only way to scale AI sustainably while maintaining transparency and security. And he believes that AI can enable us to securely tap huge unused GPU resources using distributed edge computing. And he's here to tell us all about it. Welcome, Alex.
Hi, Lisa.
Thanks for coming on the show. So let's start with this plan for leveraging global idle CPUs. How does this work exactly?
Yeah, so Lisa, I think you had a great point of leveraging the other GPU, but the AIs is a big spectrum. So when we're talking about the application, real applications, they're actually both sides of it. One of it is the training side, which is a large, intensive kind of, you require intensive GPU. So in this training space, you still need to have more centralized cluster resources with security. And we will talk about that solution. And on the inference side, which is the one that running services, technically everything that you ask ChatGPT is actually an inference, right? Those can actually be served by a distributed edge computing. And in here, we talk about a lot of idling resources that are sitting in data centers that can be utilized to run an inference. So that's kind of how we started with all this concept. So first, the distributed. Why is it distributed? Because I work for AWS, right? As my previous employers that we run a centralized cloud computing. Everybody knows AWS, but there are challenges on the centralized computing, right? I don't want to go into the details, but it just means that everything is controlled by a centralized organizations, including your data security, your privacy, and you pay premium. Whatever they charge you, you paid, right? And you're highly relying on that cost structures, which make you uncompetitive in a way where if you continue to scale and in AI businesses, comparing to other businesses, computing, the GPU is the core part of your productions. Because every single instances or every single question you ask to GPTs or your AI agents will require computing power, which is a cost. So cost is another matters. So when you have a decentralized or distributed infrastructures, leveraging on kind of idling computing powers, you can ensuring that the supply and demand, we will be able to match it with a kind of a more cost-efficient way. But I want to identify here is that decentralized and distributed doesn't mean that it's individual computers, right? It's still a concept of a set of computers that's sitting in data centers. They're providing a traditional bare metal server services where people rent it, but it just be able to operate in a more consolidated manners where highly distributed, and you can actually deploy services without having to engage any independent providers. So what it means is developers will be able to deploy their AI inferences into any nodes on our networks, whether it's sitting in US or sitting in Asia Pac and any part of the world, as long as they're connected to EMC network. And they can easily provisioning the services of AI inferences without having to set up all the server architects. Like in AWS, you have to provision the entire service before you could actually deploy your products. So in this case, EMC actually support serverless deployment, and it will be automatic routed to different part of the world when people serve it, and they will be able to optimize the usage of the idling resources sitting in different parts of the data centers where the compute is free, and give you the best cost optimized solutions. So to summarize it, the comparing to centralized models where everything needs to be paid for, like huge costs billed to AWS, in the decentralized models is you pay what you use, pay per use, and the cost is like 10% to what traditional cloud providers will be providing based on this idling computing resources.
And so these are idle resources in other people's server farms, though, not
Yes.
individuals. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
not
that's good.
individuals. So to clarify that, it's not individuals. It
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
work
I couldn't
in
tell if it
like.
was like a SETI at home
Well,
kind of
I
thing
think
or what
it's
was
no,
going on,
it's
you know.
Lisa is an interesting concept, right? We test it. It actually run on a MacBook. You can actually run an inference, even a Llama 3 inference on a MacBook, but it just doesn't work that way, right? When you have a commercial production, you still need a stabilized like data centers environment. So like most part of our EMC network are distributed compute servers that are hosted in data centers. When we say distributed, it's owned by independent providers. It's not owned by one AWS. Like you have probably a couple of hundreds of different data centers providers that having their GPU servers sitting in the data centers. They just connected their resources into EMC network and allowing people to use it. And the Web3 protocol actually routing all the AI tasks to that idling resources in our network.
You mentioned that your past experience at AWS influenced you when you were developing and
Yep.
conceiving the idea of EMC protocol. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, from the centralized point of view, the cost of building a centralized cloud services it's huge and it takes time to build. Give an example for AWS to build a new data centers in a certain location, it takes up to 5 years, 3 to 5 years to plan to deploy, and all the costs are added, which is a huge kind of cost structures on operating a cloud services like AWS. And the reason why we have this decentralized models is first, I don't need to build any data centers. All these data centers are readily, assistingly already have the servers hosted. The only differences is they are distributed across different parts of the world. So one data center may only have a couple of servers, but if you group everything together in a network, like for instance, the current EMC network, we have about 3,000 graphic cards. They are currently on operating and running different AI services. So it's come from a couple of hundreds of different data centers that providing add up to this 3,000 graphic cards. But none of it need to build from scratch. Meaning that it's anonymous, it actually permissionless, you can allow people to join the network as long as you have a data centers environment with a proper GPU setup, and then we can validate the nodes that we can test. When you run our endpoint, you can run AI tasks, then you will be able to plug into the network and ready to use, right? So that's a comparison from a traditional way of building cloud services. High cost, long time to services versus readily I can get everyone that have the spare capacity to plug in, leveraging the platform, and they can actually earn and optimize their and utilize
Ah,
resources.
so
Yes.
that's actually my next question.
Yeah.
Could you discuss the economic model within EMC and how it incentivizes the use of sharing GPU power?
Yeah, so the base layer of the infrastructures is GPU, right? So you consume GPU, you paid for that services from a user perspective. That's from demand side. And then from supply side, when people consuming the GPU, the GPU running different AI tasks, you actually earned from processing the AI tasks. Because the AI models, it's pretty common that you have the tokens models, where GPT also use the token models where you like it's called by tokens. You buy the tokens by using ChatGPT services. So likewise, you can use the same tokenomics models where when you're consuming any AI task, you actually pay by tokens, right? So we use the tokenomic models that design in our tokenomics paper, where the contributors of the computing nodes, they plug their network in, and then the network will route the AI task to the nodes, and the nodes will be processing the task. And once they completed the task, they will earn credits, and then the credits will be adding up on a daily basis. They would share the total token that release. We set the daily release of token rewards as 30,000 on a test net, and when we move to a main net, it will be 50,000 EMC tokens per day. And the benefit of it is, you can actually, it's actually driven by supply and demand. So when you have high supply of the consumption of the network, you push up the token price. Then 50,000 EMC would worth a lot more, and then there are more providers willing to come in to provide that services, because they can still make money, and at the same time, it's kind of neutralize the supply and demand. So that's kind of, we see it as the best way to have the market decide the price and the usage versus we control the price. So there's no, we don't set the price, right? So basically, the supply and demand decided like how much the compute power should cost. And it's all driven by a native tokenomic design, which is you use EMC token to consume the computing power. At the same time, you receive EMC as a reward on a daily basis based on the total amount of contribution to the network, like the task that you actually completed within the network by the computing nodes.
Okay, great, neat. Tell us about Jarvis. How does Jarvis enhance the user experience and application
Yeah, so
capabilities?
Jarvis is first of all, when we talk about Jarvis, let's talk about the different layers here, right? So we have the
Okay.
infrastructures. So as you know, it's pretty. I don't want to go into the long discussion, but if you look at how you build a services, every AI services need to have a GPU infrastructures to run. So that's kind of a basic layer. You have the GPU network that enable the AI models to run. And then you have the middle layer, which is a developer's platform, where you're allowing developers to come in to provision the services into the network layer. We call it EMC Hub. It's basically a platform that dedicated for developers, where they can use the hub to upload their models, upload their pre-trained models and inferences. They can manage their own models, different models, and then they can choose to deploy and open it up for other people to use their models in the network. So it's a serverless platform. It actually makes it so easy that the EMC Hub, you don't even need to think of like provisioning server clusters. You just upload your models and they can push to the EMC network to run. Then on top of that, we have this Jarvis platform. So Jarvis is an application layer where you're allowing AI trainers or AI developers, those who actually train the AI models, to monetize their services. The key is monetizations, right? So when you train something, you have a brilliant AI models that you train, you want to provide services. The traditional models is you have to rent something from AWS and then provision the servers and then try to offer your AI services to public, and you have to build an apps interface or website for people to come in. Take for instance, like OpenAI, right? ChatGPT. You have to go through all this setup for anyone who want to be able to monetize their AI models. But in Jarvis, we actually offer a pre-built platform where we already have AI agents. I'll talk about that later. But more important is you can actually integrate all the pre-trained models loaded in the EMC Hub, push it as a service, and then you can use our tools that make it the API models, where Jarvis can actually pull from that your models to produce any AI result, whether it's generative images or any AI models that people will use. And then you can go on a pay-per-use per API, which is a very simple models for any AI developers to come in and participate. So instead of building your own apps, which require a high intensity of, you need to be able to build that traffic, generating people to come and use it. You can leverage on the traffic that we have generated from Jarvis, and then deploying your AI services through Jarvis. So Jarvis technically is an AI app stores, right? And that concept is pretty open now, where OpenAI actually launched their app store, right? The OpenAI app store, that ChatGPT. But the differences is in ChatGPT, everything was built on ChatGPT. And in Jarvis ecosystem, you have all the freedoms of selecting different models, different AI models, whether it's Llama 3 or Grok or other models that we supported to run the different models. And it's supported across different platforms as well. Whereas ChatGPT, you can only use ChatGPT. So that's kind of an open versus a closed, I would say. But the key point here is we actually support developers to monetize their AI models. So on Jarvis perspective, we just recently launched the user platform, a mini apps on Telegram, which is integrated with Ton wallet, that allowing users to top up with Ton wallets to use the AI services, and they can also earn tokens by interacting and participating in generating different prompts with all the AI agents. So that is what we have already started. So by doing that, we believe that we can actually accumulate an AI users from Telegram user group, and in the futures, all the AI developers could just tap on Jarvis as an ecosystem and launching different services to the users.
Neat. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us. Is there anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
Um, I think the decentralized AI, we look at decentralized AI in a way where it could help people to come into this AI industry or sectors and ride the wave, right? So whatever that we are building, to summarize that, whatever EMC is building, is to enable developers to easily participate in AI development. All your AI models that you train could actually work on the platform to monetize it. And the Web3 tokenomics is the way that we believe that would easily help to convert that into real reward for developers and also generating user incomes. And the whole stack, including the computing powers, is all taken care of. We don't need to kind of looking at other service providers. So EMC aims to provide a decentralized AI platform to facilitate that.
Awesome. All right, great. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and have a great time at the conference in Singapore.
Tink you, Lisa.
And
Thanks
we'll
for your
talk to you
time.
later. Sweet
Okay,
dreams,
bye.
everybody. Bye bye.